Well, hello everyone, and welcome to your Daily 5 for June 27th, 2023. I'm Leslie Juflis of Trading Live Online, and I love to do these segments a couple of times a month. It's always fun to get in there and kind of delve into some charts. So today, what I'm going to be looking at with you is, first of all, I'm going to update the S&P 500. I'm going to use the SPX chart, as I do the S&P quite often on your daily 5, but I'm not going to be doing a lot of charts in it today. Just an update of where we are with this pullback and where I think a good buying opportunity might be coming in. But what we're going to focus on today is kind of a new industry or sector within the real estate industry, and that's the build to rent sector. And it's really interesting. I've read some articles on it. You might want to look it up, but it really makes a lot of sense. A lot of big builders that have been in business for many, many years, and now some new companies are buying up a lot of land and they're building new homes to rent rather than to sell. And there's quite a large market for this. Which again makes sense because of rent prices. I know in my area, I'm outside of the Seattle area, and rents are very high in this area. And it makes a lot of sense to a lot of especially young professionals. So we're going to take a look at some of the charts today related to that industry. And if you'd like to learn more, literally, come visit me at my website, tradingliveonline.com. And here's my email if you'd ever like to drop me an email. So let's start with the SPX today. So the last time I was on your Daily 5, which was June 13th of this year, so you can look up that episode if you like, but I did cover the S&P 500, the Dow Jones Industrial, NASDAQ, Intel, and the symbol Ford as well on that episode. So feel free to take a look at that for more detailed information on today's update of SPX. The main level on SPX, the S&P 500, is that 4,200 level. I've got a support line coming across here that I've extended, and I also extended it back so that we can see just how much trading there has been around that price level of 4,200. And we can go all the way back into 2021, and we can start to see a lot of play around that level. And the market took off after testing it a few times to the new highs, came back down in early 2022, testing it back up again after it broke as support, retested as resistance, some play around it up to the trend line, and so on. And then I had spent quite a bit of time this year trading in a range just under 4,200. Now, on that June 13th episode that I did, I showed a weekly chart of the S&P 500, and that chart really illustrates the uh, the number of times on a weekly chart that that area uh, just went sideways. And so we've had now a breakout to the upside. As you can see, it broke out to the upside. It moved very quickly up to about the 4,500 level on the futures. And that was where one of my targets was at the time. I thought it would get up to 4,300, have a pause, and then up to 4,500. Didn't get much of a pause at 4,300. This is what it got, and then right up to about 4,500. So now this 4,200 level, there's a bit of a gap right here in this area, about 4240-ish, 4225-ish here, and of course 4200. So what I'm going to be looking for, I think in the next day or two, we're going to be getting somewhat of a rally back up. I don't expected to exceed these highs, but a retracement rally back up, which might provide a nice shorting opportunity if you have a nice pattern or entry for that, and then possibly back down again, forming some type of a retracement pattern such as a ABCD type buy pattern, maybe into this gap area, or just retesting 4,200. So that's what I'm going to be looking for the S&P. One thing to notice here also is on the RSI, it did pop above this range here, and the last time we saw it this high was back, put this right on the high here, and we can see where it is uh, back here in October, November of 2021, and then back here in 2020 as well. So this is pulling back. As long as it's a nice orderly pullback in the RSI, we don't want to see it breaking support areas. We see a nice buy pattern, then I think that will give us a nice retracement back up as well. The overall ETF XLRE for the real estate market is the symbol that I'm looking at here. And this went into, I apologize, it looks like I have the months, but I accidentally cut off the year on that. So where the vertical cursor is January 2022. And here is January 2023, just to give you some reference points and the year. But the real estate ETF went into a bear market, big swings up and down, and made a bottom back in October of 2022 along with our indexes. You can see it hasn't been as strong as the indexes, but it appears that there might be some rally coming in XLRE, the ETF itself. We see that after the lows, rally up almost into this little gap area here, and then a retest. So this test here did not exceed these lows. So we've got a couple of support levels to be keeping an eye on. But today there was a nice bullish candle to the upside. Again, a bit of a gap right here, but if there's enough strength, then that should push through, and we'll probably see a retracement level. Let's put a little fib retracement on here. I would say probably back around to the 618, possibly close to the 786 level. And this might also form on this ETF. It may form a sell pattern up into those areas. That'd be an ABCD sell pattern. And we also might be able to see a larger sell pattern also in those same areas using the larger swing. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. But now let's take a look at a couple of individual symbols. So this is Zillow. This symbol is just Z for Zillow. And of course, they're the big online real estate. They give us all of the data on different real estate markets, and it had quite a spectacular fall from 2021 highs. Here's January 2022 again, and January 2023. But what I noticed about this chart is this looks to be a potential basing pattern, and sort of a rounding type of a pattern. Of course, this 25 level right here is going to be an important support area to watch, but there has been some nice rally and movement, bullish levels on the RSI on this symbol. So I think if we break above these highs here, that's right around the 49 to 50 level, then I think we might see a move back up to test around the highs here around this 65 level. So we might want to keep an eye on that. So now let's take a look at some of these build to rent companies. As I mentioned, there's a lot of developing companies that are in this space of the build for rent, BFR, I think is how they abbreviate it. But some of the information that I was reading is that there are some companies that you haven't heard of before that are getting into this space in a rather large way. It runs the gamut from anywhere from small individuals buying plots of land and building a house to rent rather than to sell, to some of the largest home builders. So these are just some of the ones that I found. And so I would encourage you to, of course, do your own due diligence with any of these that you're considering. This symbol, AMH, they're in 22 states, according to the data that I found. Now, one thing I found that was interesting with this chart, back over here in late 2021, early 2022, when all the market declined, this chart appears to me that it did not have as significant of a decline as most individual stocks did. Even XLRE that we just looked at, and actually held up fairly well. And now it's held a bottom down here around this 29-ish area, and you can see it was retesting these highs that were previous to the March 2020 lows, and then that's where the price level that it broke out from and came up to these new highs. So even back here, this made a topping pattern that I used. It's called a butterfly cell pattern. It's a powerful reversal pattern. It doesn't always get huge reversals like this, but it certainly has the potential to, which is why I use it. And then this retest up here, this was one of the stronger retests of the high, and it made a double top and then this pretty orderly decline and then holding these lows here. So this might be a symbol that you might want to keep an eye on these pullbacks. The RSI has done pretty well, holding, making some support back here, just above the 40-ish level. Back here, it's also holding in the 40-ish range. Now, when RSI, I know that the general thought with RSI is that 40 is the bullish zone, but I don't find that to be exactly true with all symbols. I think you have to go in and look at the individual symbols and see where that range is, because it does tend to vary from symbol to symbol. So it's not always exactly 40. Sometimes it can be maybe 37, 36, 38, somewhere in a range. But what you do is you look for that range, like right back here. See, this range is just below 40. Right here, the market started to turn bullish. That was holding at 38. And so you just have to do a little bit of visual inspection on your chart and find out where that range is. But again, that symbol is AMH. So let's look at the next one. But Toll Brothers is the next one. Now I put this butterfly cell pattern on here to show you what it looks like, and it usually has a process to it. And the beginning of the pattern is X. From here to here, there's no way that you would know that this type of pattern is forming. You would really only be able to know it after this retracement holds above here, and then the market starts to ascend. And then once it gets past this X starting point, that's when you can make an assumption it's a butterfly cell pattern, and then you can do the structure of it. It's not hard to learn, and it's very worthwhile to know this pattern. But it showed you on the first symbol, AMH, how that double top had formed. And here, conversely, you can see there was just a retracement up very quickly into this gap area, and then the market really fell away. But this symbol, TOL, this created this basing pattern here, and it broke out beginning of this year and has been trending higher. So it's now above, it's just testing those highs back from 2021. But I would also be watching, this is a trending move to the upside, be watching for some type of a pullback for a buying opportunity on this symbol. Another symbol that we're going to look at today is INVH, Invitation Homes. And again, another butterfly cell pattern at the highs, 2021, 2022. And that's sort of an interesting feature of this pattern is that when the markets get ready to top, and you'll generally see this pattern forming across many stocks and assets. So again, here this had a stronger test to the upside than what we just saw in Toll Brothers. However, it's nowhere near the new highs like Toll Brothers was. But I think what is interesting on this chart is this support area right here, right around the 28 level. You can see back here, this was back in 2020 after the March 2020 lows, and this price area that this market traded around for a very long time, a very long sideways coiling pattern with a breakout to the upside and up to those new highs. So this, I think, would be the point that traders could use initially for any assessing any risk in this particular symbol. And again, you want to do your own due diligence on the fundamentals and your own analysis on the company. So I'm just drawing this support line and extending it across here. So let's look at one more symbol. Okay, and the last one today, notice the comparison of the different symbols that I'm showing you today in this sector. So TMHC, the symbol. So if we go back to where we looked at other data points, the March 2020 lows here, and then here's the level that the market broke above. So I'm just going to draw another horizontal line across here so we can kind of use this as a comparison for what we've seen with the other symbols. So when we looked at Toll Brothers, and they were just testing, they're right up here, just have gotten just a little bit above the high from 2021, early 2022. But look at this symbol. This symbol is showing much more strength. And look at the pullback of this. That's fairly shallow pullback compared to the other symbols. This did form a buy pattern, formed an ABCD buy pattern. Whoops, I don't have that drawn exactly right, but that's not cooperating. Anyway, there it is. And then here is, I think, really the important support level right now. This broke through the 29 level in November of 2022, and this has been trending since. So this is one that you also might want to do some research on and be watching for some type of a pullback here. So that is it for the symbols that I have today for you. So I hope you enjoyed seeing this kind of new, reminds me of a gold rush sector. And I hope that you'll get in there and do some research on the symbols, and I'll see you on the next Daily 5.